I neglected to tell you that when all the teachers are done, there's going to be a pop quiz. Next, we have a former student, former Salina teacher, and a great athlete. Let's welcome Ted Berce.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ted Berce. He announced it. I want to thank the committee for including me on this special occasion. To put things in perspective, I was born on Canterbury. Almost 8 years after Salina School first opened their door in 1918. I am going to turn or be 92 this November. My family moved to Ohio during the Depression. And so I did not start my schooling at Salina until the 6th grade. And my 6th grade teacher was Mr. John Vissa. Maybe some of you knew him. They owned a cleaning establishment down the street. After moving on to Fortson and then graduating from the University of Michigan, I came back to the South End and began my teaching career at Salina in 1951. While I was at Salina, I taught junior high math for 10 years. And I helped out in physical education because I had my field of athletics, and I coached the football team twice. Did some other coaching. But my class size when I was teaching math was on the average of 26, and I had a few of them at 40. Now, I won't say why, but I also spent 15 years running a weekly, nightly Dearborn recreation program in the gym. Every Tuesday and Thursday for over 15 years. I also want to acknowledge great teaching staff that Salina had when I was here, not because I was here. And I think those people that were students at that time were very fortunate. Now I want to announce some of the names. The first one is Mr. DeKay. Now the second one may not hit you as good as, but Mr. Costa did. He stood up at my wedding. Then I will name a few of the teachers that some of you people had. Dombrowski, West, Quick, Hill, Lewis. Now, I don't think many of you knew Mr. Cooey. Cooey was a music teacher. Fantastic. He worked with the Ford Motor Company. Higher And this fellow that just mentioned somebody here, Mr. Faze, was a great teacher. And last, I respect him. So I didn't mention all of them, but I recommended to somebody that they were lucky to have these teachers. Very lucky. I've taught in different sections of Dearborn, and getting along with the teachers and observing them, they didn't compare with this group of teachers. Now here's one other one that I don't know if you remember this. Leo Beebe. Do you know who he is? He went with the Ford Motor Company, was a big shot at the Ford Motor Company. He was at Salina School. He taught phys ed. I played basketball for him. And to complete the circle at Salina, my daughter Patsy Burke taught kindergarten. Now, just one other thing. I'm done.
Am I going to get detention?
No. Finally, I am truly blessed to have had so many great times at Salina. And I am very proud to be an original South Indian.
Thank you, Mr. Berce. We're going to change things up for just a little bit, so please bear with me. Little trip down memory lane. In 1933, Salina student Rose Vance recalls that Joe Penner wowed the kids at Salina with an hour-long program of zany antics and jokes. The catchphrase, "You want to buy a duck?" helped to propel Joe into one of America's top comedians, who eventually made 10 movies. He surpassed such established stars as Bing Crosby, Jack Benny, Amos and Andy, and even Rudy Vallee, whose show introduced him to a national audience. Adele Delgado, who lived on Amazon Street, graduated from Salina in 1938. She became Adele Mara once the famous band leader Xavier Cugat discovered her and brought her to New York to play the Copacabana Club. There, a Hollywood talent scout spotted her and signed her to star in a series of movies. She was voted Miss Pinup of 1942 by the Army magazine Yank, which had a circulation of 2.5 million in World War II. When Martin Shakar left Dearborn and Wayne State's Hillberry and Bonstell theaters to go to New York, he was selected by the famous Lee Strasberg to become a member of the prestigious Actors Studio. Playing off-Broadway roles and parts in many different movies, his most notable role was that of Father Frank, the brother of John Travolta in the movie Saturday Night Fever. We have short clips from these famous Salina people, and we know that you'll enjoy them. Cue the clips.
You remember what I told you yesterday? Let's start once more. Ready? Forward! Forward! Right! Now, this way. Forward, right! Right! This is it. Back one man. Very good, very good. Now follow the old one. Remember the question I taught you? Calm the leg. Calm the leg.
Can you listen to me just a minute?
Oh, all right. This minute. Comedy, halt. Sleepers? Oh, don't worry about those. The pigeons will eat them up.
Oh, Ernie, be sensible. When you and I get married, we'll be very happy there.
Oh, the pigeons like it?
Oh, you and your pigeons.
Well, what's the matter with the pigeons?
Well, at that, I guess it's better than you wasting your time and money on horse racing like my brother Purple.
Me and horses? Never.
Promise me you'll never have anything to do with horses?
Never.
Oh, Ernie!
Oh, I'm sorry I kept you waiting. Company. Over. Hey. Hey, I know. You like to see the pigeons go through their war maneuvers? You know, like the other things do.
Love you.
Fight for me.
That's marvelous. Do they carry bombs, too?
No. There.
Good to see you. Yeah. You look good. You do. You look wonderful. You checking out my trophy? Oh yeah, that's you, huh? Yeah. First prize. Look just fine. Hey, we just standing over downstairs. It look crazy. It look like zombies. Like somebody died or something. I think they're shot. Shot? I'm in my church. Oh, yeah, sure. Church. Come another way. I'm losing the priesthood. Oh, come on, Fred. Don't fool around like that. I think I'm losing my hair. It looks awful thin right over here. Are you serious? Can I borrow some of your clothes or buy some of them? I'm sorry, Frank. I really am. I'm sorry. What are you sorry? You're fired, huh? You get fired? Quit. Quit? Yeah, you can do those things, man. What Mom said, what she said? She said, "Dear Lord, what am I going to tell Teresa and Marie?" And Dad always said, "Shame to both of them." They're ashamed, right? You ashamed? That's why nothing? No. I think they're afraid to. Like I might say celibacy. You gonna sleep here tonight? You wanna sleep in my room? Yeah, I thought I would. You got any blankets for you?
As a special treat, joining us live from New York, Martin Shakar.
Chuck Shanley told me I had to talk tonight. You come under the viaduct over at Eagle Pass, and it's like coming home. It's God's country. And there was the German actress who told me a long time ago that you got to change your pronunciation of your name to Shakar. Well, I don't know. I'm Marty Shaker, you know. And then there was Sammy Shaker. There was Jimmy Shaker. There's Mary Shaker and Marty Shaker. And we all went here. And remember going to woodshop with Pop Warner. He said, all right, we had a salt shaker, we had a pepper shaker, and now what are we going to do with you? I don't know if he ever gave me a name, but anyway, that's it. Mary never went to woodshop, so she didn't have a chance for that. And this is hard, you know, this makes me nervous. But the last time I was on a stage, I think it was in the auditorium here, but it was a different auditorium, right? Smaller, right? Was it on the second floor? Well, anyway, I made a big splash. I got out with a bang. I used to play with chemicals, you know. And in the yearbook, you know, you have what's going to become of you, what your ambition is. And I think I said something like to blow up Salina School. That would get me in a lot of trouble nowadays. But we had a skit, end of the year skit, a graduation skit in 1954. And so we tried to bring that to pass. We built a flat up there, it looked like a brick wall. And I brought one of my little devices. And we planted it over there, came over here, and I got permission to do this by the teachers. And I set it off. That was my entrance into show business. And it really made a blast. Filled up the auditorium with smoke, went out into the hallway. And that's how I got out of Salina School. But anyway, I'm glad it's still here and it's bigger than ever. And keep moving.
Thank you, Marty. We're going to go a little bit out of order here, as we have a guest who's going to have to catch a plane. So I'm going to introduce a gentleman who needs no introduction, well known to almost all of us from this neighborhood. Join me in welcoming Alan Amon.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. I hope everybody's enjoying the opportunity to look and see the kind of quality people that came out of the South End. Not just the guys on the stage, but all of you people here. This is probably the greatest community that has ever been. The only sad thing is it will probably never be again. That is a loss to people, but it's given so much. I have the opportunity now to tell you about somebody from the South End. You know, the South End was known for tough guys, you know. There were tough guys from the South End. You all know that. Judo's sitting there, so I gotta say Judo. You know, he's tough. I don't want to think I skipped him. There were a lot of tough guys in the South End. And there's a guy who came from the South End, whose beginnings were humble. His mother was a janitor in this school, but he achieved the status of a hero, and I mean a genuine hero. Now, we've had people from the South End, they're movie stars, they're artists, billionaires. I mean, you all know that Marion Ilitch Mike Illich's wife is a Salina school student. People of wealth and of fame and glory. But there's one man whose name, you think, well, these are great things from the South End, but what would be the epitome? Well, I'll tell you what the epitome would be. A man who studied medicine, who became a doctor, who saw a need overseas when the Russians invaded Afghanistan. He went to Afghanistan. He provided medical care and medical teaching to the Afghanis to the extent that the Russians had a multi-million-dollar reward on his head. The dead or alive, they wanted him dead. Because his impact in Afghanistan was so significant that President Ronald Reagan recognized him, awarded him awards of merit, and he's received all kinds of awards. I would even suggest that if you get a chance to Google him. But he's a South Ender. He grew up, went to this school. And when I say the epitome, he achieved, because of his phenomenal humanitarian work all over the world, he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. I think it's one of the greatest things that you can ever have happen to your fellow classmates, because in this community, we're all family. So we all share, and I want him to share with us the man that I'm talking about, Dr. Robert Simon.
Thank you very much. What I want to tell you is what Salina did for me rather than what I did, because that's what's really important. And I brought with me a book that I want to tell you about. So for my 3 minutes, first a funny story, then a serious story about what Salina did for me. I was a nerd, and like all nerds, we joined the safety patrol. So the safety patrol, I wasn't a tough guy. Anyways, the safety patrol, the supervisor of it, the guy who was really in charge, not the captain, above the captain, was Ahmed. So every year we'd get to go on this yellow bus, and there'd be police escorts to Camp Dearborn. It made us feel like we were really important, almost like a football player. So anyways, what happened is that Alan stood up in the bus, and he was the guy we all respected, and he said, "Now you guys, when you're there, if anybody gives you a tough time, you come and see me. But if they're bigger and stronger than me, then you run away." So now, here's what Salina did for me. My entire life, my entire career, as chairman of a department, CEO of a hospital, oversees everything, is credited to one teacher, and that teacher is at Salina School, Miss Picarnian. What happened is Miss Picarnian passed away. Miss Picarnian, what happened is she would take a student, and this I apply to all teachers, all of you out there, because really it tells you what teachers are. Miss Picarnian would take a student that she thought had potential, and she would concentrate on that student. She would come to my house. My parents were both illiterate. Bring magazines, bring books, brings whatever, and talk to my parents about encouraging me to study and not watch TV. Anyway, she also gave me this. I still have with all my memoirs. I received from Reagan the Heritage Medal of Freedom. It's right next to it. And this is the Popular Medical Encyclopedia. I got it in the 4th grade, 1960, from Miss Picarnian. And here's what it says. "A student whom I'll always remember for his kindness and courtesy. I hope and pray that you will continue to be interested in becoming a doctor." And she stayed with me even into high school, and encouraged me to go on. It's because of a school teacher at Salina that I've been able to do everything I've been able to do, and that is Miss Picarnian. And when I wrote my first book, on orthopedics and emergency medicine. I actually, she was at that time retired, and she was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I think Ms. Picarnian was Finnish. And what happened is I sent it to her. She was in her 80s, I think mid or late 80s, some of you may know. And I dedicated the book to her. And what happened is she died a year and a half later. Yeah. So I'm really grateful to Ms. Picarnian. She's the reason why I am what I am. And Salina.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. Join me in welcoming a former student and an attorney, Alex Saleh.
How am I following Dr. Simon? I mean, this is ridiculous. I got nothing. I mean, he's a Nobel Peace Prize. But that's all right. Look, my Uncle Chuck asked me to speak representing the kids that went to school here in the 70s and the 80s. And I've really been looking forward to this. I flew in from Dubai last night. And for the last 2-3 months, I've been talking to colleagues and friends in Dubai about the event. And they go, oh, it's a high school reunion? No. It's a college reunion? No. It's where I went to elementary school and junior high, and it's like a anniversary for the last 100 years. And they had this quizzled look on them like they didn't get it. Because Salina really is special. So, I had to explain that my best friends today, as a man who's 52 years old, my best friends are friends I met in kindergarten, in first and second grade. And we're like brothers. To use the word friends is not the right word. We're brothers. And this is because of the institution that Salina is. And then at that point from quizzled, they went to amazed. But then I probably said a little too much. I talked about how we swam naked and things like that. And then they went from a look of amazement to a look of concern. It's like, so I said too much. You got to know when to stop your discussion. Sometimes lawyers talk too much, and this is my fault. But, having said that and talking to them, and my colleagues are from all over, Australia, England, Egypt. It's a global city, and you get to meet people, and listening to or just watching their views, you realize how special Salina is. And Salina and the South End are synonymous. They're one of the same. It's a cliche to say a family, but that's really what we are, and that's how we grew up, and that's really how we've become. And talking at least from my generation in the 70s and the 80s, the teachers that we had here were just amazing. Whether it was Mr. Beckman in third grade, Miss Gruce, who I just found out passed away a few years ago, Miss George, our teachers in junior high, Mr. Kaz, Mr. Check, our cafeteria staff even. I mean, I could still name the lunches we had every day. I mean, we had what we call free lunch, and I had to explain that to the guys from England and Australia, and we had our fish sandwiches on Friday and our pizza on Wednesday. And honestly, I've had dinners all over the world. Nothing beats Salisbury steak in Salina. Nothing. And it was a wonderful time. And you move on and things change and life goes on. And I've been away from Michigan for years. So every couple of years I bring my kids here, and if you ever watch the Seinfeld series, you'll know this. I take them on a J. Peterman tour of the South End. We go from one stop to another, and the Salina School is one of the most important stops where we walk, and I tell them, okay, like sign said, this is where they get taken behind the school, and here's what we did in this part of the school and this part of the school, and it's funny. My kids come from a completely different background than I do. We were the sons of refugees. We were dirt poor. We came from all over too. We didn't have anything, but as I tell the stories of how close we were and what a unique institution and how we were really family and we've stayed together. And I see the looks on my kids' eyes and I realize, you know, even though they're from a privileged background, I actually feel sorry for them. What we had was amazing. And I, you know, we say it all time and time again. I don't know if this is ever gonna happen again. You know, and so we really, all you can do at this point is enjoy the family and the friends around you and the ones that we have from here. I mean, we make it a, you know, our wives don't like it, but we make it a special thing with my buddies. We get together 2-3 times a year where we just reminisce about our times at Salina and the neighborhood, because nothing beats that. And, you know, honestly. So, you know, I know we're on the time, the time is short, so I'm gonna wrap up by just saying that, you know, I wanna thank the committee, my Uncle Chuck who made me speak tonight, and just it's wonderful seeing everybody here from all these years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Our next speaker is also a former student and health promotion officer. Help me welcome Fatima Farooq.
Thank you. Oh, I feel kind of small compared to everyone that spoke. So I'm gonna be quick. I kind of got a little bit emotional, just kind of reminiscing about being here and the last 20 years that I've lived in the South End. So it was actually 20 years ago this month in 1998 that I first came to Salina Elementary. This is the first time I walked through the halls, and it kind of, coming from Sudan, it kind of just, I was completely in awe. You know, I'd never been to kindergarten, I'd never been to preschool, and I was just completely seeing things for a completely whole new perspective. My family had just moved to the US from Sudan, and my first grade teacher, Mrs. Mahdi, may she rest in peace, welcomed me with open arms, working tirelessly both before and after school to help me catch up with my peers. She was the embodiment of everything Salina stands for: relentless dedication, passion, empathy, and an unwavering perseverance to make a difference in the lives of students and the community. When my father passed away in second grade, my teacher, Mrs. Bazzi, and the surrounding Salina community rallied around us. I will never forget walking into my classroom on my first day back since the funeral. The warm hug I received from Mrs. Bazzi somehow managed to keep the tiny pieces of my little heart together and let me know that everything will be okay. Sorry. I was overwhelmed by the outpouring of compassion, love, and support we received from the community. In the days, weeks, months, and even years afterwards, that left me forever, that will forever be imprinted in our souls. And I cannot forget the long-lasting impression my fifth grade teacher, Mr. Bruce, left on me. I'm sorry, I'm a really ugly crier, and I was not expecting to get so emotional. Thank you. His baked cupcakes and distinct Harry Potter character voices made my imagination come alive. He had this unexplained faith in his students that galvanized me as a student. What he taught me stuck with me through college and beyond. Now, 20 years later, Salina Elementary still continues to be an inexplicable part of my life. It taught me compassion, kindness, and doing my part to give back and amplify the voices of those deemed voiceless. Everything I am today, I owe to this community. Thank you.
There's no question that this school has been fostering those kinds of emotions for 100 years. Now, our next speaker is someone who really needs no introduction and is well known to all of us, our City Council President, Susan Debaja. I told her no singing and dancing.
Hi, everyone. So let me tell you guys, in first grade, my teacher was Miss Wolfman. Any Miss Wolfman students here? There you go. So she told me, and she was a great teacher, she told me one day, I was a little bit of a teacher's pet. I thought I was always the goody two-shoes, and she tells me one day, I'm talking to my friend, she goes, Susan, did you swallow a radio? And I looked at her, I think I was like 6 at the time, and I thought, no, I didn't. I thought she was really asking me, did I swallow a radio? And she looked at me, she goes, well, stop talking, because you've been talking this entire time. So it was at that moment that I realized I love talking, and it was probably the reason why, Tony mentioned I'm the council president here, but I'm also an attorney. So we love to talk. Alex did his share of talking earlier, took my story, but a lot of the things I want to say tonight. But you don't understand how special it feels for me to stand here tonight. I remember getting some of my first Christmas toys from Access, from Ahmed, walking up those stairs. I remember practicing pom-pom with Miss Laura Phillips up here. I remember a lot of things. And my fondest memories are of Salina in the South End. I lived here for 20 years. And Alex said something that hits very home with me. I have 3 children right now, and my children tell me, Mom, we envy you when I speak about Salina and about the South End community. We pass by here regularly. My grandparents still live here. I grew up on Burley and West Lawn and on Akron. But every time I bring my children here, they say, Mom, we wish we had your childhood. We wish we had the types of friendships that you formed here in Salina. It's a special feeling. I really thought about what did I want to talk about tonight. I'm usually, because I always swallow a radio, I usually like to write out my speeches so I don't speak too much. Then I thought about it. How can I express in words what's in here? I can't. But the speakers before me really did a good job. Everything they said, I felt like, oh, I could have said that. Oh, I wanted to say that. Oh, yeah, that's what I felt. And I think everyone in this room feels the same way. There's something so special about this school. Yeah, we deserve an applause for all of us here, really. But also, I wanted to kind of end on a light note. So I wanted to just mention a few funny little things that some of us, my generation, by the way, if you know anything about the South End, it's generational. So you have the older generation, the Alex Saleh generation, you have me from the 80s, and then you have the kids that came here in the 90s, my siblings. So it's funny, whenever I meet someone that went to Salina, a few years older than me, they're like, you're a Salina girl? You're a South Ender? I'm like, yeah, I'm damn proud to be a South Ender. They're like, well, so were we. It's a proud moment. But let me remind some of you that are from my generation of some of the fun things that we had to experience while here at Salina. Who remembers Big Red and Little Red? No one? The paddle? Mr. Cassia? Yes! Oh, yeah. Well, with us, it was Mr. Cassia, or Mr. Cotter, sorry, Mr. Cotter. So we had Little Red and Big Red. Who remembers Mrs. O'Leary and the soap in your mouth if you said the word mines? We got soap. So I'm telling you, who remembers, Alex brought up the food. You forgot the most important part. What about the bread and butter? That was the best part, the cinnamon sticks, the cinnamon rolls, the cookies, all of them. I mean, come on. That's true. Well, we had freelance, but once in a while we saved up an hour and allowance for that. The point is, there's a lot of things that happened here that I feel like only happened at Salina. If you want to talk about, punishment that in this day and age we can't get away with, I remember getting slapped in the hand with rulers and paddles and soap in your mouth. We can't dream of that today. Anyway, I just want to say, somebody mentioned that the South End, in closing, I want to end. The South End is 2.2 square miles. It's the best damn 2.2 square miles I've ever held. I love you guys because I feel like you're all my family. I want to thank the committee that put this together, and I want to thank every teacher here that really made a huge effect on who I am today. I'm only where I am today as the council president of the city of Dearborn because of Salina School and the South End community. I will say this, in 2013, when I was elected as the council president, I remember the first thing that came from my heart, I said, I grew up with nothing, but I felt like I had everything because of this school. Thank you guys.
Very well said. Next and last, we have a former student, University of Michigan provost, and founder of Access. Help me to welcome Ismael Ahmed.
So much has been said that you really can't add to it, but I want to emphasize some things. First of all, welcome, brothers and sisters, because that's what you are, brothers and sisters in something really important. Brothers and sisters of a community, the South End. Brothers and sisters of a school, Salina School. If you think about it, this is a completely unique community. Think back. In this neighborhood was the largest industrial complex in the world. In the 1940s, 90,000 workers worked at the Rouge plant. This is a working class community. And workers came from all over the planet to work here at the Rouge plant. They came from places like Armenia, Lebanon, Mexico, Palestine. There were Turks and Chinese and Africans and Yemenis and Italians and so many other nationalities. And it's been mentioned already, but did you know that Ripley's Believe It or Not wrote up this neighborhood for the number of languages spoken within 2 square miles? This is an important neighborhood, but it wasn't that we spoke a lot of languages. It was that we didn't speak English at all and had to get along with each other. We came together. We watched out for each other. I would get up in the morning when I was 7 years old and go out and come back in the evening. And my mother and father didn't worry. Why? Because we watched out for each other. Because we cared about each other. And because we were South Enders. This neighborhood is where the labor movement was born. Think about that, the Battle of Eagle Pass. The unemployment marches, the founding of the UAW took place in this neighborhood in the South End with Salina at its heart. And when they came to tear down this neighborhood, South Enders and teachers at Salina School stood up. And I'm talking about people like Iris Becker, Catherine Amon, Alan Amon, Don Eunice, Leland Swanson, Nick Kolcheff, Louis Boney, all stood up and fought. And they stood up and fought because we were together. We were born to be part of Salina. We were born to be South Enders, and that's what we were, and we watched out for each other, with Salina School at the heart of it all. But I would be remiss if I didn't say something that's been said all night, and that is, we are who we are because of the teachers. When I came here in the 2nd grade, I couldn't hardly speak English. Now I don't speak Arabic, but there was a lady here named Miss Hickey who taught me to read. There were teachers like that that all of us worked with. Teachers who stood up for us, taught us, watched out for us, cared about us, and I could go on with a huge list of them. Well, Lila is here tonight. She has been working with New Yemeni immigrants forever, I think. Linda Halleck, who is here, who's also part of the committee. And I'll go back a little bit. Paul Costia, Iris Becker, and so many more. I can't name them all, but they mentored us. They watched out for us. They taught us. And we succeeded. Many of us did. Whether you became a pizza king, or you became an engineer or a doctor, or you just worked at the Rouge plant. Those were all successes that took place because of those teachers. And it wasn't just teachers. Administrators, people who were our principals, like Andrea Wada, who's here with us tonight. Nadia Yeoman, Mr. Hotchkiss, if you want to go way back, and even our superintendent of schools cut his eye teeth here. And my wife, when she joined me to live in the South End, became a teacher at this very school and does parenting programs across the Dearborn school system now. So we owe so much to so many. And I want to say this to you. I'm the last speaker, so what I'm going to ask you to do is put your hands together for those teachers. Put your hands together for the parapros. Put your hands together for the custodians. Put your hands together for all of them that made this possible. And put your hands together for each other, because we are South Enders.
Thank you, Ismael. And thank you all for being so attentive. We're very, very grateful that you came. And please stay, because there's plenty of time to mingle. We thank you very much on behalf of the committee and all of the speakers. Thank you, thank you, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.
That's